As Chancellor of the University, I declare this congregation open for the conferring of degrees by the authority of the Senate and the Council.
As Vice-Chancellor, I am delighted to welcome you all to this degree congregation. It is a celebration for all those who graduate today. We celebrate your many achievements that culminate in the award of a degree from a major international research and teaching-led university that has been placed in the top 20 universities in the UK in national league tables created by the Financial Times over the last 3 consecutive years. All degree ceremonies are special to the individuals who graduate. This is a special degree ceremony for postgraduates. It provides strong evidence for the Financial Times' statement that we are the leading UK provider of postgraduate taught courses. Indeed, I hope that many of you will wish to continue your education in the University of Leicester by studying with us for a doctoral degree. Today provides you with an excellent opportunity to talk with your tutors about registering for a doctorate and also about ways in which you can gain financial support. Many of you here have combined work with part-time study by distance learning, an approach that I am sure will appeal to parents and friends who no doubt will also wish to study with us. Think of it like this. If you approach us today, we could have you starting a new degree programme by the end of next week. But what kind of university is the University of Leicester? This year, we have 19,500 students, 50% of whom are postgraduates. We have 3,500 staff and a turnover of £155 million. But what are our other characteristics? First and foremost, we are a research-intensive university contributing to the knowledge-based economy. We won the Queen's Anniversary Prize for Higher Education in 2003 for our research and teaching in genetics. Teaching is at the forefront of our activities and closely linked with research. Teaching in this university has been regarded as uniformly excellent by independent assessors who have recently visited. And we have a series of special research projects devoted to curriculum development that will inform the work of other universities as well as our own. We are actively involved in widening access and widening participation by attracting people from different social groups to the university in order that they may share in the success in which we are involved. We engage in 2-year foundation degrees and have already produced the first group of graduates with colleagues at Bishop Grosseteste College in Lincoln, with whom we have a special agreement and intend to engage in a number of new developments. But most importantly, not only do we recruit students from a wide range of different backgrounds, we also retain them. Those who study with us have a great success in gaining a degree, as is demonstrated here today. Indeed, we have one of the smallest dropout rates among universities in the UK. Now, all these features have figured strongly in the national debate about the future of higher education that was initiated by the Secretary of State a year ago. The media have focused attention on student finance, but it is important to remember that the Higher Education Bill covers a number of other fundamental issues in higher education, namely research, teaching, widening participation, and many other areas. Nevertheless, Finance is fundamental for a successful university, and debates you have heard about top-up fees are absolutely vital to the economic success of a university, which underpins its academic success in every way. Indeed, the finance that is generated by a university allows us to provide the high-quality teaching and research and the excellent student experience that is associated with life in the University of Leicester. Certainly, the university has much to contribute, and I hope many of you will wish to think of ways you can contribute to the university in the coming years. It could involve a number of activities. For example, working with our Careers Advisory Service to mentor a new generation of Leicester students into a particular profession or occupation. Providing research opportunities and support through the place in which you work. Our researchers actually engage in researching many of the workplaces in which you are located. You can introduce us to sponsors to approach in our systematic fundraising campaign that starts next week. And finally, a campaign that starts today, you can contribute to our alumni campaign to support our library for another generation of Leicester students. Finally, I would like to congratulate you all on the degrees you have obtained. We hope you will keep in touch with the university, and I shall look forward to seeing you at alumni events in the future. But before I close, I would like you to join me in showing your appreciation to your parents, relatives, friends and sponsors who have supported you through the university. So I would now ask the graduating class of 2004 to join me in a round of applause for all those people. Well, that's very good, but you best know that every summer at the degree ceremonies we have a little competition between the faculties as to who can clap loudest and longest. And I always like to tell them that all the people who graduated in February can clap far better than they can. So I'm sure you won't let me down this morning in being able to give me the evidence for that, because you need to make sure that it's a real celebration and applaud all your fellow students throughout the day. Certainly, I wish you a very enjoyable day with us and all good wishes to you in your future careers.
The graduands and the Faculty of the Social Sciences will be presented by the Dean, Professor Jackson. Will all graduands and the faculty please stand?
Mr. Chancellor, I ask you to admit these candidates from the Faculty of the Social Sciences to the several degrees for which they are presented.
Graduates of the Faculty of the Social Sciences, by the authority of the Senate, I admit you to the several degrees to which you are presented.
For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Abdul Al-Hassani. Hui Ling Cheng. Shane McEwen. Sharon Gu. Sushil Jain. Lina Khatib. Marina Payton. John Mutoni. Ur Omagan-Olsen. Lydia Plackett. Martin Roderick. Sigal Sagiv. Prasan Sonwaka. Yang Chen Se. For the degree of Master of Arts in Cooperative Management and Organisational Development, Anne Camus. For the degree of Master of Arts in Diplomatic Studies, Hull Moore. Emil Mortensen. Inger Rindebeck. For the degree of Master of Arts in European Politics, Lynn Mullo. James Shepherd. For the degree of Master of Arts in European Urbanisation, Julie Deeming. For the degree of Master of Arts in Globalisation and Communications, Che Dang. Sequin Dong. Sarah Horner. Chai Wu. Siming Chu. Lang Yo. For the degree of Master of Arts in International Relations and World Order, Carol Adji. Marnix Dickman. Maret Japinen. Hassan Patel. For the degree of Master of Arts in Mass Communications, Ilyas Absi. Samina Ali. Neil Anderson. Jason Arvan Itikis. Alma Bicky. Nitikul Kamaraman. Obina Shukukeri. Fang Fang. Ying Go. Rita Gonga. Kaili Go. Julia Hart. Min Hee. Nagisa Hikino. Jo Yun Lin. Choyang Lu. Chukan Lu. Zanetta Luce. Karina Matsovo-Getchman. Mahil Nair. Maureen Newell. Malcolm Redding. Edward Stevens. Panagiotis Tassopoulos. Ivan Thomas. Euphemia Zavara. Ji Wang. Yang Wang. Yurong Yan. Sabine Schiller. For the degree of Master of Arts in Social History, Stephanie Maximovich. For the degree of Master of Arts in Sociology of Sport, Tom Gibbons. Matthew McCormick. Daniel Udall. Anna Villanova. Janice Wooten. For the degree of Master of Arts in Urban History, Helen Clements. For the degree of Master of Business Administration, Sophia Abbas. Abdullah Al-Gashari. Anne Amakudze. Alberta Arde Aqua. Kay Atkinson. Amir Awadallah. Russell Banks. Jill Bindley. David Binner. Bjorn Bolseth. Nikomed Bohe. Bruce Brunson. Lindsay Buckner. Conrad Boudou. Song Chen. Lee Sin Chang. Chung Hui Chow. Jin Dong Chen. Sui Cheng. Cam Chung. Kin Chow. Kim Christensen. William Coward. William Coward. Jane Crockford. Elena Dimitriou. Lifeng Duan,
Congratulations.
Hisham Elhened,
Congratulations.
Sabrina Foot,
Congratulations.
Gwynfor Gardner,
Congratulations.
Sarah Goodwin,
Congratulations. Well done.
Nazarino Gretsch,
Congratulations.
Shimul Hader,
Congratulations. Well done.
Shirley Hargreaves, Yujiro Hayashi,
Congratulations. Well done.
Carol Hillerkus,
Congratulations. Well done.
Lee Ho,
Congratulations. Well done.
Mao Se,
Congratulations. Well done.
Eltheros Yanides,
Congratulations. Well done.
Hong Li Jiang,
Congratulations. Well done.
Abdur Kadwani,
Congratulations. Well done.
Toru Kamiya,
Congratulations. Well done.
Karalambus Kasmaridis,
Congratulations. Well done.
Emiko Kazama,
Congratulations. Well done.
Christine Koff,
Congratulations. Well done.
Maria Kofu,
Congratulations. Well done.
Tai Lam,
Congratulations. Well done.
Vita Lam,
Congratulations. Well done.
Wan Li,
Congratulations. Well done.
Wan Lim,
Congratulations. Well done.
Feng Lin,
Congratulations. Well done.
Yanjun Liu,
Congratulations.
Morgan Ma,
Congratulations. Well done.
Jalika Macha,
Congratulations. Well done.
Simon Maddock,
Congratulations. Well done.
Vasim Malabari,
Congratulations. Well done.
Jeffrey Milsom,
Congratulations. Well done.
Mitamura,
Congratulations. Well done.
Sunji Mori,
Congratulations. Well done.
Brian Muscat,
Congratulations.
Omatoya Oguniji,
Congratulations.
Noriko Uchi,
Congratulations.
Sikwang Pen,
Congratulations.
Ashley Perry,
Congratulations.
Uwe Poldlek,
Congratulations.
Christopher Ruston,
Congratulations.
Chin Shen,
Congratulations.
Boyan Chen,
Congratulations.
Kazuhiro Shimotori,
Congratulations.
Dorota Sier S. Vasca,
Congratulations. Well done.
Susan Smith,
Congratulations.
Eddie Sumar,
Congratulations.
Mao Tang,
Congratulations.
Tony Taylor,
Congratulations. Well done.
Juliet Thorburn,
Congratulations. Well done.
Chun To,
Congratulations. Well done.
Sin Siu,
Congratulations. Well done.
Kazui Sukahara,
Congratulations.
Joseph Twum, Savas Vassilides,
Congratulations.
Ruth Vela,
Congratulations.
Akimi Kawayama,
Congratulations.
Sin Wong,
Congratulations.
Barbara Wright,
Congratulations. Well done.
Hirosuke Yamamoto,
Congratulations.
Muhannad Zabalawi,
Congratulations.
Jiang Zhang,
Congratulations.
for the degree of Master of Business Administration Employee Relations, Sharon Bambot,
Congratulations. Well done.
Rachel Brownhill,
Congratulations.
Joseph Kassar,
Congratulations.
Elizabeth Lum,
Congratulations.
Brenda Sam,
Congratulations.
Qing Zhu,
Congratulations.
for the degree of Master of Business Administration Finance, Sandra Alvarado,
Congratulations.
Cynthia Amartifio,
Congratulations.
Zanita Baglova,
Congratulations.
Emmanuel Boadi,
Congratulations.
Michael Boadi,
Congratulations.
Daniel Borkete,
Congratulations.
Teek Chow,
Congratulations.
Timothy Davis,
Congratulations.
Ichi Furukawa,
Congratulations.
Mohammed Kande,
Congratulations.
Festus Kawofi,
Congratulations.
Emmanuel Moses,
Congratulations.
Victor Nkweti,
Congratulations.
Emmanuel Ofe,
Congratulations.
Daniel Owusu,
Congratulations.
Enoch Sarfo Mensah,
Congratulations.
Eldon Shen,
Congratulations.
Bronte Tan,
Congratulations. Well done.
Solomon Teti Akpen,
Congratulations.
Aditya Varma,
Congratulations.
Prafaporn Vitatanafan,
Congratulations.
Per Henning Weisinger,
Congratulations.
for the degree of for the degree of Master of Business Administration, Information Technology Management, Bertram Fernando.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Business Administration, Marketing, Adib Al-Jundi.
Congratulations.
Fahad Al-Hindi,
Congratulations.
Asanka Atapatu,
Congratulations.
Nawal Atamimi,
Congratulations.
Albert Bonzi,
Congratulations. Congratulations. Very well done.
Elaine Kakachia.
Congratulations.
San Tang Chu.
Congratulations.
Rushdie Damamanhuri.
Congratulations. Well done.
Muan El Salah.
Congratulations.
Gabriel Eshun.
Congratulations.
Jung Yang Su.
Congratulations.
Tetsuya Iwata.
Congratulations.
Ruba Jabba.
Congratulations.
Irinya Kiselova.
Congratulations.
Chun Miao Lin.
Congratulations. Well done.
Su Ling Lin.
Congratulations. Well done.
Chen Jung Liu.
Congratulations.
Tadaki Maruyama.
Congratulations.
Yosuke Muruata.
Congratulations. Well done.
Noel Muzondo.
Congratulations. Well done.
Pramila Nair.
Congratulations.
John Naudi.
Congratulations.
Kwamina Nayarku.
Congratulations.
John Payne.
Congratulations.
Li Heng Kwang.
Congratulations. Well done.
Jin Tong.
Congratulations.
Paul Toon.
Congratulations.
Yu Chu Cheng.
Congratulations.
Chin Wang.
Congratulations.
Gloria Wiafi.
Congratulations.
Jin Zhang.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Business Administration Sports Management, Vanessa Brown.
Congratulations.
Richard Calloway.
Congratulations.
Adrian Tribble.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Business Administration Total Quality Management, Christian Ibsen.
Congratulations.
Alfredi Klemmer.
Congratulations.
Stephen Mann.
Congratulations.
Colin Nelson.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Applied Criminology, Hannah Eldridge.
Congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Master of Science in Business Analysis and Finance, Annie Constantinou.
Congratulations.
Mary Essie-Ovwa.
Congratulations.
Liang Fu.
Congratulations.
Irene Jorgala.
Congratulations.
Mason Jin.
Congratulations.
Helen Knight.
Congratulations.
Amit Ladd.
Congratulations.
Carrie Mellon.
Congratulations.
Legita Trumpeti.
Congratulations.
Hui Wang.
Congratulations.
Su Zhang.
Congratulations.
Chi Zhang. For the degree of Master of Science in Clinical Criminology, Catherine Benford. Carly Chan. Neil Corbell. Jane Cordon. Jayashri Patel. For the degree of Master of Science in Community Safety, Michael Maiden. Glyn Timmins.
Benjamin Zephaniah is an icon of modern times. This People's Laureate, the dreadlocked, rapping Rastaman, will just not stay silent. He pulls no punches as he uses his prodigious talents to promote justice for humans and animals alike. Benjamin grew up in Handsworth, an island of Jamaican culture in Birmingham that his parents moved to in the 1950s. His mother was a nurse, and her dogged determination to keep helping others in the face of persistent and abusive racism imparted in him a powerful sense of the injustices of this world. So much of what he saw around him he knew to be wrong, and no so-called authority could tell him otherwise. He discovered his talent for verse at a tender age, and frequently entertained groups of his friends with performance poetry, drawing upon the excitement and diversity of his family and community life. Sadly, his talents lay unrecognized by the educational system of the day, despite his gifts of poetry left on teachers' desks. The boy who, in his own words, just wanted to be an intellectual, was written off academically at an early stage, being directed by his misguided masters to sport. He was made captain of the cricket team when he'd hardly ever held a bat. Lads like him must be good at that sort of thing, they thought. Through all this, however, the determination to create never wavered, and he developed a superb local reputation as a performance poet and musician. Alienated and angry, however, he also drifted into a murky world around and beyond the fringes of the law. And falling foul of the authorities, he enjoyed some enforced spells of confinement that fortuitously gave him the opportunity to reflect and hone his creative talents in preparation for future success. Realizing at 20 that he'd come to a crucial decision point between a downward spiral of criminality and the creative future he craved, Zephaniah moved to London for a new life. He began to write seriously, and after remarkably few rejections, his first book of poetry, Pen Rhythm, was published when he was just 22. His book sold well, but he really made his reputation as he had as a child, in performance, injecting as he did a new life into the poetry scene. At that time, in the early 80s, there was a strong current of protest, and Zephaniah's poetry was the language of both the demonstrations and the dance floor. He pursued relentlessly his mission to take poetry everywhere, hating the dead image of academia, and ensuring that he brought verse to all, whether they read books or not. His poetry was radical, musical, relevant, and on TV. He continued with a series of successful books, including The Dread Affair, Inner Liverpool, City Psalms, and Proper Propaganda, and performed to ever wider audiences. He also established a reputation as a musician with his own band and has played with some of the greats. More recently, he's concentrated on performing outside of Europe and has built a huge international following. He feels at home anywhere where the oral tradition is still strong, and lists South Africa, Zimbabwe and India amongst his most enjoyable tours. Over one 22-day period in 1991, he performed in every continent on the planet. He's made a particular relationship with South Africa, performing a musical tribute to Nelson Mandela with the Wailers, and he's since built a special relationship with this great man, which led to Zephaniah working with children in South African townships and hosting the President's Two Nations concert in 1996. Zephaniah has always believed that poetry is poetry, not differentiated into adult or children's work, but more recently he's produced an incredibly popular series of children's poetry. He began with Talking Turkeys and followed with Funky Chickens, and has demonstrated that children are well able to appreciate that he writes about a real world where there are bullies, guns, racism, and war. A vegan since the age of 13, Zephaniah pleads passionately for the rights of animals, as he says in his book, because every turkey has a mum. His little book of vegan poems comes with a health warning: meat eaters may be offended. A long battle with dyslexia has encouraged him to favour poetry over prose, but he's also written books. Refugee Boy is the story of Alem, a refugee of war, who despite all that happens to him maintains a shining spirit of courage throughout. Face is the story of a white man dealing with how he's treated differently after a severe facial injury. Young writers often assert the accessibility of Zephaniah's work has inspired them to take up writing, and he spends much time working in schools and communities to spread his message. Seemingly never out of the media, his profile continues to grow, though he is still reluctant to accept some of the accolades the establishment now wishes to lay upon him. Zephaniah started writing poetry because, as he said, "I don't like poetry," and in doing so has redefined the art and reached an audience of millions with his powerful message of justice. As he writes, "All people are people, and as far as I can see, you're all related to me." Mr. Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Senate and the Council, I present to you Benjamin Zephaniah, that you may confer upon him the Honorary Degree of Doctor of Letters.
We welcome you among us. Congratulations. Very good. Very well.
Thank you very much. I've been asked to say a few words, and I'm going to try and keep it as brief as possible. I should start by saying that it's kind of very difficult standing there listening to somebody talk about me like that. I think it's nice, and I wish my mother would introduce me to my friends like that. But it made me feel like a naughty schoolboy, you know. It really is a pleasure to be here accepting this honor today. A part of my life was alluded to there, which struck me last night, was very important. A long time ago, I lived in a little place near here called Glenparva. Glenparva was then a borstal, or a young boys' prison. And I got sentenced to 18 months in Glenparva. And actually, I was told the other day, I haven't read my entry in Who's Who, but I was told that it says there that educated in Glenparva, Leicester. Graduated as well. But it's very interesting because the hotel I was staying in was right next to Glenparva. And last night I went there and I drove around and had some sweet memories, although I don't really remember what the outside looked like. But sitting here today and watching people come up, I just thought that we don't have the time, but it would be really good to listen to everybody's story, not just mine. Why do I have the privilege of talking for a few minutes? Because you've all taken different journeys of getting here. And, mine started on the streets, if you like, and yes, I was on the wrong side of the law. But I've visited prisons lately, and I've seen people who were just as talented as me who are still in prison, and they were involved in crime at the same time as me. And they were just as talented as me. But unfortunately, for many varying reasons, they are still in that rut, in that cycle. And I managed to get out. For personal reasons, probably because I was able to push myself, but also because I took various opportunities that came up. But I also noticed that a lot of you here are for sciences and criminology and stuff like this, and I want to tell you that whatever you do, boys and girls, whatever you do, always have some poetry in your life. This is really, really important. It's always important to have somewhere else to go. Poetry for me is probably one of the most important things that I have. I've always spent my life fighting for the rights of men, women, animals, and even plants sometimes. But poetry is probably the thing that keeps me going. In times of war, we still want poetry. When you fall in love, you want poetry. And I had a very interesting experience once. I was in a place called Cambridge. Some of you may have heard of Cambridge. It's in another world, but it's not far from here. And I was rowing a boat down a river slowly with some friends, and we call it punting. And this friend of mine, who happens to be a professor, because I hang out with professors and chancellors and people like that, he turned around to me and he said, "Benjamin, I think that we should make you into a kind of professor of poetry." And I said, "Yeah, that sounds good to me." And he said, "But there is a problem with your poetry, Benjamin." And I said, "Please help me out. What is the problem?" And he said, "Benjamin, the problem with your poetry is that people understand it. And that's not good, is it?" So I said to him, I pleaded with him, I said, I don't want to be a poet that people understand. I want to be a real poet, so what do I do? He said, "Well, Benjamin, you go out into the real world and you observe things that are simple and you write about them and make them sound complicated." And it was at this point I realized that the poet was different from normal people. Normal people look and see and watch, but the poet observes. And, as you go through your journey, wherever you are in life, just keep observing, keep some poetry in your life. And I really want to thank you for considering me for this honor. It really means something to me because of this journey that I've taken, and because it is Leicester, it has even more relevance to me. My mother, as was mentioned earlier, left Jamaica, literally saw a poster on the streets of Jamaica saying, "Britain needs you. Come to the motherland. You'll be welcomed. You can work here. Everything will be wonderful. And you get the same sunshine, just like Jamaica." My mother came and she worked as a nurse. She trained here as a nurse. And she can't be with me today, but I know she'd be really proud. As soon as I leave her, I'm going to ring her and say, "Mum, you know what? Britain invited you and you came here and you was a nurse. But guess what, Mother? I'm a doctor." Thank you very much.
The remaining graduands in the Faculty of the Social Sciences will now be presented by the Dean, Professor Jackson.
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, for the degree of Master of Science in Criminal Justice, Paul Booker. Glynis Kirkwood Nagar.
Congratulations.
Stephanie Tuck.
Congratulations.
Linda Bradley.
Congratulations.
Mohammed Brema Jah.
Congratulations.
Laura Brampton.
Congratulations.
Claire Brandon White.
Congratulations.
Nadine Gregory.
Congratulations.
Anita Kane.
Congratulations.
Patricia Lofthouse.
Congratulations.
Monica Nkuka.
Congratulations.
Claire Murphy.
Congratulations.
Catherine Netton.
Congratulations.
Dawn O'Malley.
Congratulations.
Katie Owen.
Congratulations.
Louise Withaka.
Congratulations.
Nicholas Weingard.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Economics, Franklin Bendu.
Congratulations.
Bina Prajapati.
Congratulations.
Kavita Sirishand.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Finance, Jeremiah Akpo Maduri.
Congratulations.
Siwan B.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Mayan Kai.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Yi Man Chow.
Congratulations.
Rayson Chelan.
Congratulations.
Hui Chen.
Congratulations.
Chow Zuo Chen.
Congratulations.
Howard Chong.
Congratulations.
Felix Connolly.
Congratulations.
Stuart Empson.
Congratulations.
Kenneth Frendel.
Congratulations.
Theodora Kiwara.
Congratulations.
Kui Chang Huang.
Congratulations. Thank you.
James Hughes.
Congratulations.
Nicholas James.
Congratulations.
Daniel King.
Congratulations.
Manwei Leung.
Congratulations.
Chu Lee.
Congratulations.
Sujun Lin.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Ying Lu.
Congratulations.
Tao Lo.
Congratulations.
Tembin Msipa.
Congratulations.
Umakolo Obu.
Congratulations.
Chao Pang.
Congratulations.
George Polykratis.
Congratulations.
Adrian Rossignolo.
Congratulations.
Kelly Rosson.
Congratulations.
Li Yang Sun.
Congratulations.
Meng Sun.
Congratulations.
Derek Tam.
Congratulations.
Jinglun Tang.
Congratulations.
Vishal Thanki.
Congratulations.
Nakesh Valji,
Congratulations.
Dan Wang,
Congratulations.
Fa Wang,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Eugene Wee,
Congratulations.
Daniel Wooderson,
Congratulations.
Ling Yang,
Congratulations.
Asako Kokoyama,
Congratulations.
Jai Jai Zhang,
Congratulations.
Zhu Zhang,
Congratulations.
Junqing Zhu,
Congratulations.
for the degree of Master of Science in Financial Economics, Samatios Gagas,
Congratulations.
Yun Dan Gong,
Congratulations.
Richard Yabo,
Congratulations.
Nalani Kasuri Nanayakaji,
Congratulations.
Jifan Li,
Congratulations.
Fang Wang,
Congratulations.
for the degree of Master of Science in Health and Safety Management, Nicholas Abraham,
Congratulations.
Philip Bacon,
Congratulations.
Graham Briggs,
Congratulations.
Rachel Daniel,
Congratulations.
David Duffin,
Congratulations.
Steve Essex,
Congratulations.
David Fellows,
Congratulations.
Graham Frobisher,
Congratulations.
Paul Garner,
Congratulations.
John Gillen,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Michael Ketley,
Congratulations.
Nigel Lawrence,
Congratulations.
Jerry McBrearty,
Congratulations.
Cormac McCarthy,
Congratulations.
Andrew Newborough,
Congratulations.
Ibrahim Pembekoglou,
Congratulations.
David Walker,
Congratulations.
Eric Ward,
Congratulations.
for the degree of Master of Science in Human Geography, Stephen Williams,
Congratulations. Yeah, very good. Well done. Thank you.
for the degree of Master of Science in Management, Folaki Akinladi,
Congratulations.
Tamara Booth,
Congratulations.
Karen Brar,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Craig Bundell,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Ji Hua Chen,
Congratulations.
Chiang Chen,
Congratulations.
Ranbir Hiraj,
Congratulations.
Dimitris Economou,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Simon Foster,
Congratulations. Well done. Thank you.
Sira Ka,
Congratulations.
Sitsu Kanzaria,
Congratulations.
Joanne Karanja,
Congratulations.
Nikos Lafazanis,
Congratulations.
Paul Leggett,
Congratulations.
Gurjinda Mann,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Pana Yoto Miltiadu,
Congratulations.
Yagdeep Nirwan,
Congratulations.
Fenella Okla,
Congratulations.
Andrula Panaritu,
Congratulations.
Catherine Rumeliotti,
Congratulations.
Ian Rudkin,
Congratulations.
Charnjit Singh,
Congratulations.
Anesh Sitaram,
Congratulations.
Annabelle Tilley,
Congratulations.
Alexandros Verdolis,
Congratulations.
Zhe Wan,
Congratulations.
Quishi Wang,
Congratulations.
for the degree of Master of Science in Management of Quality Excellence, Michael Lowe,
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Nigel Picken,
Congratulations. Well done.
for the degree of Master of Science in Marketing, Nikolaos Alexidis,
Congratulations.
Jungyu Chen,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Shakrit Koti Udumfa,
Congratulations.
Stephen Davis,
Congratulations.
Viraj Dhillon,
Congratulations.
Chao Duan,
Congratulations.
Anna Elferiou,
Congratulations.
Tianheng Fu,
Congratulations.
Nancy Geng,
Congratulations.
Gianni Greco,
Congratulations.
Carol Hopper Young,
Congratulations.
Yan Gio,
Congratulations.
Belly Jing,
Congratulations.
Yuan Kam,
Congratulations.
Ri Li,
Congratulations.
Ying Li,
Congratulations.
Yun Kai Li,
Congratulations.
Wen Yi Pi,
Congratulations.
George Politis,
Congratulations. Well done.
Suet Pon,
Congratulations.
Gunter Prihadi,
Congratulations.
Christo Valanti Samuraki,
Congratulations.
Brian Schubert,
Congratulations.
Natapol Tamasungiti,
Congratulations.
Jordanis Tornaris,
Congratulations.
Chu Se,
Congratulations.
Kajal Vatsa,
Congratulations.
Georgios Vergopoulos,
Congratulations.
Yaquin Wang,
Congratulations.
Yan Wu,
Thank you. Congratulations.
Ning Chi,
Congratulations.
So Zhang,
Congratulations.
Yun Jin Zhang,
Congratulations. Well done.
Na Zheng,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Louis Zhang,
Congratulations. Thank you.
for the degree of Master of Science in Media and Communications Research, Mark Lee.
Congratulations. Thank you.
For the degree of Master of Science in Policing and Public Order Studies, Runa Bunez.
Congratulations.
Martin Krutner.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Angela Leicester.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Risk, Crisis and Disaster Management, Donald Bull.
Congratulations.
Anthony Lawson.
Congratulations. Well done.
Ming Hua Leung.
Congratulations.
Lucy Payne.
Congratulations.
Anthony Seacombe.
Congratulations.
David Shingleton.
Congratulations.
Yim Sang.
Congratulations.
Sarah Zweig Everidge.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Security and Organisational Risk Management, Victor Asidu.
Congratulations.
Claire Billen.
Congratulations.
Lalendra Gunawardena.
Congratulations.
Isaiah.
Congratulations. Well done.
For the degree of Master of Science in Security and Risk Management, Piers Ben.
Congratulations. Well done.
Charles Kane.
Congratulations.
David Cox.
Congratulations.
Darren Fielding.
Congratulations.
William Hall.
Congratulations.
Stephen Lowe.
Congratulations.
Rosaire Mian.
Congratulations.
Eric Strutman.
Congratulations.
John Scott.
Congratulations.
Wayne Wilcox.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Security Management, Stephen Banyard.
Congratulations.
Philippa Ellis.
Congratulations.
Andrew Shaw.
Congratulations.
Catherine Wilson.
Congratulations. Oh, very good. Well done.
For the degree of Master of Science in Social Research, Sharon Pye.
Congratulations. Well done.
Philippa Rowan.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Sociology of Sport, John Higgins.
Congratulations. Well done.
Natasha Lake.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Sociology of Sport, Physical Education, Cheryl Letts.
Congratulations. Well done.
Alan Scanlon.
Congratulations.
Sharon Stansfield.
Congratulations. Thank you.
For the degree of Master of Science in Sociology of Sport, Sports Management, Julia Ledyard.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Sociology of Sport and Sport Management, Kevin Keighley.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Training, Adriana Krakuin.
Congratulations.
Gaston De Bono.
Congratulations.
Barbara Lee.
Congratulations.
Janice Peel.
Congratulations. Thank you.
For the degree of Master of Science in Training and Human Resource Management, Ed El Kassar.
Congratulations.
Giorgio Cristo Dulodo.
Congratulations.
Rita McAuliffe.
Congratulations.
Kerry O'Neill.
Congratulations.
Philip Scatties.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Michael Smith,
Congratulations.
Colin Sturgeon,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Mei Seun,
Congratulations.
Y. Wong.
Congratulations.
For the degree of Master of Science in Training and Performance Management, Louisa Bench,
Congratulations. Well done.
Sue Chung,
Congratulations.
Miles Docherty,
Congratulations.
Angela Fahili,
Congratulations.
Eoif Lehani,
Congratulations. Well done.
Joe Murphy,
Congratulations.
Richard O'Reilly,
Congratulations. Well done.
Nigel Percy,
Congratulations.
Elisabetta Rath,
Congratulations. Well done.
Ross Swan,
Congratulations.
for the degree of Business Administration, for the degree of Master of Business Administration, Makoto Hirayama,
Congratulations. Well done.
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I ask you to admit to the several degrees for which they are presented by my faculty those candidates who are absent.
By the authority of the Senate, I admit those candidates who are absent to the several degrees for which they are presented.
In former times, universities used to be described as ivory towers, a term combining both criticism and envy. Scholars were thinking deep thoughts in comfortable surroundings, but they were cut off from the real world. For whatever truth this may have had, it no longer applies today, as events of the past few weeks have shown. Top-up fees have put universities in the political spotlight, competing with weapons of mass destruction for the headlines. Of course, this is not the occasion to enter into the financial intricacies of the debate, but the argument is not just about money. Deeper questions lie behind. What is the role of universities, and how do they fit into society? On a day when all of us here are celebrating the degrees being awarded at this university, it seems pertinent to reflect on such general questions. And I will take a few moments to give you my own thoughts, but I point out this lecture is one for which no examination questions will be set. It's important to recognize that universities, like all social institutions, evolve with time, and their role has to reflect the general changes in society. Moreover, there has always been a close relation between universities and the power in the land. Towers they may have been, but the towers were built by kings. In medieval England, many of the colleges of Oxford and Cambridge were founded by monarchs. Their motives were, as usual, mixed. On the one hand, there were moral and theological ideals for the glory of God, while more pragmatically, there was a need for trained servants of the church and court. As history unfolded, universities were not immune to upheavals in church and state, and some poor vice-chancellors ended up at the stake, a fate they are spared these days. Gradually, universities widened their horizons and taught the new sciences. This brought the rebuke that they were not producing the manpower the country needed, that is to say, the ministers to fill the pulpits of the church, and they're wasting time on abstract and useless subjects, a theme with a modern ring to it, even if the content has got reversed. In the 19th century, in the heyday of the British Empire, the main function of the universities was to educate those who were going out to govern India or other imperial provinces. In the 20th century, the British Empire has disappeared. We've entered the era of globalization, which some will view as the American Empire, but others may come to recognize as the new Chinese Empire. But whatever term one uses, it's clear that the role of universities is now quite different. The government sees a competitive world where our future lies in science-based industries and financial services. Our economies must be skill-based, and our universities must provide the necessary trained manpower. Moreover, national frontiers should not hinder the free flow of ideas and expertise, so that universities have also to operate in the worldwide market. These are the economic and political realities, and universities cannot evade their responsibilities. On the other hand, history shows that the relation of the university to state is an uneasy one. Universities have to accommodate with the rulers of the time, but they must also provide an alternative view of the needs of the country, one that is more fundamental and long-term. Governments measure events on a timescale determined by elections, in which units are years, not decades. Universities should think in terms of decades and centuries. Governments make decisions which may be reversed by the next government, or even sooner. Universities turn out students now who will be around for most of the 21st century, and they turn out ideas which may be around for even longer. So universities have to concentrate on things of permanent value. In their educational role, they should aim to produce students who have been taught to think for themselves. Yes, they should acquire marketable skills for today, but more importantly, they should learn how to adapt so that they can survive tomorrow. They should be taught not just the rules of the game, but they should be prepared to ask questions so that the rules can be changed. In fact, it is more important to know how to ask the right questions than it is to learn how to parrot the right answers. This ability to ask questions is the most difficult and important requirement for citizens today. And this has been highlighted by the other great news event of the past few weeks, the argument about 45 minutes. It's commonly said that we are drowning in a sea of information or misinformation. We are bombarded by facts, opinions, and comments in the newspapers, on television, and by email. Whose views should we trust? The government, the opposition, the media, the police, security services, the judges? Clearly, they cannot all be right. And each citizen has to come to his or her own verdict. And the key function of universities is to produce citizens who will be able to sift through conflicting reports and come to appropriate conclusions. George Orwell forecast in melodramatic form the problem we face. He pointed out that propaganda is put out by ministries of information, and that wars are planned by ministries of defense. Language is the first casualty in the attack on truth. I presume that most of you have a regular newspaper that you read. I would recommend that at least for a while, as long as you can afford both the time and the money, you should read two different newspapers from opposite poles of the political spectrum. You will soon discover that not everything you read in print can be true. This itself is a salutary experience, the first step on the path to truth. And it's not an easy lesson to learn. I remember in days long past when my graduate students would hand in a roughly scribbled argument on scrappy paper. I would take up my red pencil and score out the many serious mistakes. When the word processor appeared, it all changed. The students could hand in beautifully printed, clean pages of imposing text. Despite myself, I would be impressed. It would have that polished and convincing look that the printed version provides, even though I knew that it was likely to be the same rubbish as before. Well, you have been patient, allowing me to get a few things off my chest. Now that I've retired from most of my positions, it's only the University of Leicester that is kind enough to allow me to pontificate. More seriously, I am glad to be with you on this happy occasion, celebrating your various achievements in the company of your friends, families, and teachers. The Vice-Chancellor and I have shaken your hands, a symbolic gesture which we make both personally and on behalf of the University of Leicester. And as you go your various paths, I hope you will continue to feel part of the university and that you will, in different ways, contribute to its mission. But above all, think for yourselves. I now declare this congregation closed.